I've had to learn in my life sometimes, don't think too small and don't worry about all the details. If you believe in what you have and it can help people or it's going to fill a need, you don't need to know every step of the way of how you're going to get there. You're going to get there.
If I could go back in my lifetime and say, what's a big mistake? I wish I figured this out earlier.
Ask questions, ask why.
It takes a special leader to help you grow in a certain role.
Doesn't matter how I speak, doesn't matter how I look.
And it holds true as you think big and don't let anybody stop you.
Now that's a success story. Welcome to this episode of Success Stories. Today I have a special guest with me, the founder of Culture for Good, Sean Loomer. Sean, thanks for being on today.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thanks for the invite and great to hear your voice.
Great. Hey, I'm going to start out where I start everybody out. When you think about your success story and telling that story, where does that begin for you?
Man, that's a loaded one for me. It goes way back, and I've been an entrepreneur for so long, about 40 years now, with a multitude of different businesses. And so it really begins there, the Culture for Good, my current world, is really, a compilation of all these things over the years of figuring out ways to help people, filling a void, when I could see a void that it just didn't seem like it was being met. And then if I could come up with a solution. So that's really kind of my whole premise, my entire career as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Where does that, do you think it ingrained in you, from childhood? Do you think it's something, later on in life? I know you're an athlete growing up and doing that. Do you think it was, brought to you through that capacity or in that channel?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've always, I don't know, I'm the youngest of 8 kids and, great experiences, but also being denied certain things in a huge family like that, trying to figure things out on my own a little bit. And I don't know, I guess I kind of always had a soft spot and a love for humans. And that it was never really about, of course I chased more money, I guess, when I was younger, as most of us do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always about that. It was really about just figuring out things that were going to help people be in a better place, and I think, yes, as an athlete, it certainly helped me for setting goals and be willing to work, not giving up, and battling my way through these obstacles as an entrepreneur. But I think it really kind of goes back to just the love for people. And as silly and corny as that may sound, I think most businesses and most business owners that I've experienced and have worked with over the years, a lot of them, it's how much money can we make? And then let's figure out a way to do that. They start on the money side. I tend to start on how can I help? And then let's see what's there on the money side afterwards. So it's just kind of a reverse model. So.
Yeah. But it's a great approach because there's always a need, right? You're not worrying about product market fit or any of those fits that you have to deal with because that's where you're starting at and then you're backing in. Yeah. Let's go back to your very first entrance into being an entrepreneur. How long ago was that? And kind of what was that? What were the pitfalls there, right? Because, we all make those mistakes that first time where we're like, I'm gung-ho, I'm going to crush this. And then you're like, oh, shit, there was a whole lot I didn't know about, right? Take me back to that first leap and your thought process and where you went.
Kind of pre that, I'll go all the way back. I think my entrepreneurs, world started in elementary school, selling, is giving my age away, but bubble gum was a new deal back then. And so we in baggies, and I would sell it at the private school I was at, where I would sell it by the piece, and things weren't as readily available back then. And it's like, wow, this is kind of neat. And so I don't know, I had a love for building things, creating things, from a business perspective. And really I'll call it my first big win as an entrepreneur, because that's what really sticks in my head the most is having an idea. And that was, in the prepaid phone card business that I got involved in. And it wasn't really, I kind of tend to do things, Steve, a little early sometimes. I love riding those waves, but sometimes I'm I'm swimming and swimming. That wave isn't coming yet. And so I can see it out there and I want to have the timing to ride that wave. But prepaid phone cards was something that was very, non-existent in the United States when I started. I saw it happening in Europe, and then it hit the East Coast a little bit, helping different cultures. Maybe they were migrant workers, maybe they were just here for whatever reason, having a way so they could call home, right? And that was where this whole prepayment thing, a convenience, that kind of thing. And everyone laughed at me. I walked away from my one corporate, I had one big corporate run for a handful of years and I made a ton of money and that was great and everything, but I didn't like it. I didn't like
Yeah,
that world. I didn't like that environment. I didn't like being told when I could work and when I couldn't work and where I was going to live and where I couldn't live. And so I saw this phone card concept. I'm like, man, this is going to be a big deal, and left my really good paying position at that time. And I was building my second home at the time. My mom, she was battling colon cancer at the time. I had the fourth child on the way. So it wasn't really good timing to
yeah,
just
right.
say, I'm going to walk away from everything and then battle all of this stuff. And so, but that's what happened. And it was, you go from being laughed at and, to, oh my gosh, what did you just do? And so that was a big turning point, I think, in my life to say, I can do this, and you always, I'm a risk taker anyways. I'm not saying my way is the best way. I think so many people out there have great ideas. Um, but it does take a lot of courage to step up to the plate and swing the bat,
Yeah, for sure.
financially, time wise, especially when you've got a family who's certain, they're used to a certain lifestyle. And I'm like, I'm gonna throw this all away and try to take us somewhere bigger and better down the road. So
For sure, for sure. That timing aspect to me, like, I don't know if there's ever a good time, right? Is it there might be optimal periods of time of like maybe you don't
right.
want to start a business, when your wife or significant other is 9 months pregnant, there's some things like that. But is there ever really a hey, it was perfect timing, like that seeing ahead, like you just got to make the decision, and that's to me that's the perfect time is when your mindset's ready.
No, 100%, man. It's like, real estate, it's location, location, location. But, being an entrepreneur, it's have what it is you want to do, have that belief in it that much that it's gonna create that sense of urgency for you to do it and take those steps forward. But you're exactly right, Steve. There's not ever a perfect time to do it. It's because there's just so many, things that can contribute to the environment of what you're trying to do. And I've faced that also, like I said earlier, kind of being too early sometimes in businesses.
Mhm.
But everyone always kind of says, when I have this much money in the bank, when my kids are blah, 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 or when I have all these perfect things, well, I'm just not a big believer in that because you have to put yourself out there. It is a risk,
Right, for sure.
and I've done a lot of sales teaching and speaking over the years. And one of the things I've been speaking since I was very, very young was, who made these rules anyways? And I think a lot of us get caught up in that, and I went to school and got my business degree and all that stuff. But who makes these rules? And I've been teaching this for decades of going to school, getting your degree, getting a career, living hopefully through that career, and then having enough retirement and health left when that's all said and done. My deal is just let's live right now. Let's
For
go
sure.
right now. It's up and down. Life's a roller coaster, anyways.
Yeah.
Highs and lows, and you don't get too high, don't get too low, and business is no different. And so, I think as an entrepreneur, people need to recognize that, which goes back to the point it's a roller coaster anyways. There is never really a perfect time. Yes, you can catch a wave at a perfect time, which means now you're going to have to make a decision to dive in anyways, because there's certain industries, certain things that happen and come along, to ride certain nowadays it's technology, right?
Yeah.
And what can I do with AI? Everyone's like, and then, prior to that, it was social platforms and it was, prior to that, it was Google AdWords and advertising online. I got to be good at that. And so there's always something, right? So yes, seeing into the future a little bit, if you have that kind of where you can kind of see where things are going is helpful, but there's never a perfect time, man. If you're going to do it, my whole thing is do it, dive in.
Yeah. 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 That's, I would say, the perfect timing was yesterday because I'm always behind. So I got to catch up. So that's my mentality. I always feel like I should have been here already.
Well, we all think about those things, and certainly like whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's, investing in a Apple or all these things. And we're
Yeah.
like, shoulda, coulda kind of thing. And sometimes what's really interesting, what I've learned through all these years is sometimes when you're in it and you're looking at something and you think it's now is the time, and then you don't get it started right away or you don't pull that trigger, we think we're missing that window. When reality is that window really hasn't even hit yet. But in our minds, it has because we were thinking about it so early. And a great example of that would be two days ago, I saw a video come out on the president talking. There was a video about hemp and CBD and how it can help seniors,
Hmm.
right? And like it's a big deal. And so I was like, wow, we've been around and been in that business for 15 years. You feel like that wave has come and gone, right? I'll just say CBD as an example. You feel like it's gone because when it was really big and hot, that was all the marketers coming to play, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but they just, let's put some stuff in a bottle and see how much we can sell. What the true medicine of what that hemp plant can do is now finally, I mean, look how many years it took.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
being
Yeah. Finally.
recognized, and they're saying, wow, this could really change people's lives, the endocannabinoid system, all this stuff. But that's a classic example of, man, I wish I would have done more when it was so hot kind of
Yeah.
thing. I think maybe we missed it, but no, it's like, it's like most people don't even know what that is and what it means. And, does
Yeah.
it hurt the body? Does it, you get high from, no. So it's all these stories in our head. Everything, like you said, when you've made that decision, your mindset, the storytelling in our mind is really going to dictate our emotions and our actions of what we're going to do. So,
Yeah, yeah. We present this false reality onto ourselves that sometimes we're too close to it. We've had those conversations. You're inside the bottle, you can't see the label. Those type of things, and you're in the
yeah,
industry so tight that you don't have that unbiased perspective that you're just kind of
right.
bringing upon yourself. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, what's in your entrepreneurial journey? You've started multiple companies, you've had some exits, you've had partners, you've been by yourself, solo. What's been the biggest obstacle or learning lesson for you throughout this journey?
Man, I've done it both ways. I've started businesses on a credit card from the piggy bank and have done it. And I've also have had investors and I've raised money for other entrepreneurs and other businesses by, speaking and storytelling their business to help them raise capital. And I've done that too. My biggest obstacle is probably because I love people so much that naive. I guess I was naive in trusting people,
Mhm.
right? Not all, everyone doesn't all have the same intentions, the good intentions that, you or I may have. And so I had to learn the hard way, and I had to learn the hard way more than once. And I think it's because my very first big deal was on a
Mm.
handshake. And we had it was a good exit for me, at the time, 25 years, I don't even know, years ago, however long it's been. But, it was a small 7-figure exit, but it meant a lot to me. It was all on a handshake and I got everything, that I was supposed to get, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And then there's other times you get these contracts and these agreements. And what I've learned is those agreements and contracts are only as good as the people's intention behind those contracts. There's gotchas in those things. There's people wanting to take advantage of you. I've had to learn the hard way, and it's okay. It's okay. That happened. Now what am I going to do? Am I going to drop my head and, oh my gosh, what happened to me? No, you can't be mopey, man. You got to pull up them big boy pants and let's go. It's like, I always kind of tease people who, they'll get hardened maybe from a breakup, from a personal breakup. And it's like, they're never going to love again. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't be that person. Like we have to still be who we are. And yes, we can get tainted if we
Yeah.
start storytelling ourselves how bad it was and how they took advantage of me and all. Like, it's happened, man. I've had that happen to me more than once. And so obviously through experience, I guess it's one of the good things about age is you kind of have gotten through these things and you've learned from those. And that's the biggest thing, because I just think, with investors, there's a price. If I'm going to use an investor, I want a good human. I want someone where it's not a financial strain on them. And I like it when there's one of two. I want one or the other. You bring something to the table that is going to help me. You can mentor me in some way, or you have whatever, a business that we can collaborate with, a database, or you say, Sean, I trust you. I trust where you're going. Go. Give me a monthly or quarterly report, because I've had both of those, and I've had good partners. I've had really good, amazing partners. And then you do have some that they're just in it for the money, and they don't really care. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think at the core, at the end of the day, it's, you have to be able to live with yourself, right? And I think that's kind of what
yeah,
you're saying. Your handshake is even stronger, and I feel like in our experience and my experience
yeah,
personally,
yeah,
my handshake's more worth more and is more valuable than my signature on that contract. So that's how I, go into
yeah,
relationships, and that's how
yeah.
I hold myself to a
Well,
certain standard for
it,
sure.
yeah, I'm certainly not telling people not to protect themselves. I've
Yeah.
learned, but regardless of that, it still comes down to who's on the other side of that piece of paper, and
Yep.
and what is their real intention of that piece of paper.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I like I said, and I've done. I think the biggest. Well, I know this for fact. The most seven-figure years for me were all handshakes, all of them, all of them. And I've had some contracts and agreements, and so I should say that I don't want to say all of them. The biggest of all of those different exits or what have you have been on handshake. And some people may say you're crazy. Well, am I? Maybe, because of the agreements, and then sometimes those agreements. Now you just have to watch those agreements, and they ended up costing me so much money to
Yeah.
make sure the
Right.
agreement was okay, and or defending the agreement. It's like, it's greed. Unfortunately, what I've learned is a lot of humans, it's just about the money. Just they're greedy. And it's okay. They're business people. And in their mind, they're doing whatever they need to do to get to the top, to make as much money as they can. That's just who they are. So I recognize that now more than ever, and I have to kind of just meet people with who they are. And certainly now I use far more discretion of who I want to do something with, right? And so I'll have an agreement. It's not that we won't, but it's really about who is that person.
Yeah, yeah. Through the course of your journey of your companies and where you're at now, I mean, you have a laundry list of assets that you bring to the table when with your leadership, your sales ability, your ability to rally troops, right, and to speak. What do you think's been your greatest asset in your life's journey of being able to in business life, right, not personal,
Yeah.
to be able to be successful?
I think this was like the biggest unknown to me and how this happened. I was in high school, I was shy Sean. I was not that
Really?
guy. I was an athlete and went to school on a football scholarship, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I'm proud of those moments. That was a certain season of my life, but I was shy. And when I went off to college and I did a speech as a freshman, and it was a weird speech, man. There was the old song that was, you had to pick a song and can make it a speech. And my speech was, "Should I stay or should I go now?" That old
Yeah.
song. I remember who
Yeah.
sings that song, right? I'm really dating myself here, but it changed my life. And then what happened was, as I started to speak over time, I learned at a really young age, even as like a teenager, um, in my early 20s, I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, why do people just follow me? Why? I feel like whatever I'm saying, they're in. And that was, I'm like, and I just went on for like a decade. I'm like, what? How do I have this capability? What is this? And I
Hmm.
think what I finally came to the realization of was, of course you hear sometimes facts tell, stories sell, but it's because I don't know, I was just me. I was genuine. I cared. I didn't muddy the water. My goal whenever speaking was the feedback. I would love the feedback when I'd hear, you're not a good salesperson, but I'll buy whatever you have. I'm like, what? What does that even mean? And it's the fact that when you're giving good information, when you're trying to help people see something, um, I don't know. It's just kind of this. People want to follow those who know where they're going,
Yeah.
have confidence. Where this confidence came from, I don't know. Now that we're talking, I used to do something really weird, Steve. This helped in college, um, into high school, going into college as an athlete. I was a little dude, man. I'm not that big. I was told I was the lightest Division I football scholarship guy in the country at 149 pounds. I was lighter than the kickers, man. I was not a big guy, but I used to work out and train and go run stadiums and do all these things. And even walking from my home to, a couple miles to go train, I, I was narrating. I played a game with myself that it was like a documentary on me, and I was under the camera. And so how I behaved, how I acted, I wanted to show work ethic. I wanted to show my commitment. I wanted to show these are my goals. This is what I want to accomplish. And so it was like I was storytelling in my head. And that's probably what led me to this storytelling thing. But that's been the biggest catalyst for me is being able to communicate to others in a genuine, real way. Nowadays you always hear just make authentic content and all this. I'm like, dude, that's all I know how to do. Give me
Right.
a teleprompter. I'm horrible. I don't like, I can try,
Get
but
that
I'd
thing
rather
out of my
just
face.
speak from here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's amazing that you developed it internally like that. Probably without any intention, right? It was just your
No,
process.
no. Yeah.
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 Maybe I was trying to build my own confidence. Who
Yeah,
knows?
right? Maybe.
Where that
Yeah.
came.
Yeah. Well, it's working. It's working. So take me to present day today. What are you up to with Culture for Good, and kind of what's your day to day look like now, and what do you do?
Man, yeah, we've been in this holistic health space. My wife and I for about 25 years. That kind of just changed my world when I met her, my own health, you know, my things like arthritis and, gut health. Started teaching gut health with her about 25 years ago. And I saw the difference it made in my life and then in others' lives. And so we had built a brand, sold that brand, um, got some greedy partners come involved, get involved. It is what it is. We were doing things with the NBA and NHL and all this stuff. It sounds great, but really it was everyone was looking for money. And so we did pretty good. We did okay. And then we just started making products for other brands. And now with Culture for Good, we're we're finally moving into a time of technology that we can utilize. That's kind of been our only weak point, meaning we have amazing storytelling, education, amazing products. We have, people trust us. We've been around for 20 some years teaching gut health before there was a thing called gut health. And people know, our supplements work, our education will steer them to other companies, will steer them to food, all these other things, but we haven't had the technology. So we're building a brand, Culture for Good. We're excited about that. We're actually branding it now and getting the new website and all that stuff and back office for affiliates. for influencers. I'm getting more and more involved with the NIL stuff. I used to coach for many, many years, and now helping my oldest grandson through this recruiting process um, is unbelievable of how that even works now. And
Yeah,
so
it's a different world than when we
we're
came through.
oh my gosh, I was so thrilled to have a scholarship. Now these guys are making 6 figures for being on the roster. Like
Yeah.
what? Not even counting NIL. And so NIL is a big deal, and with college and high school athletes, right? And so males, females, it doesn't really matter. And so I'm putting together, because I coached forever, had high school football, basketball, club sports, all that. I did a lot of that, and one of my businesses along the way, I was the Nike team dealer for the state of Arizona. I've learned so much about team sports and individual sports. And so what I'm doing now with Culture for Good is, even though we're building our own brand for the first time in 20 years, our white label business is just exploding, or private label, whatever you want to call it, where people want to have their own products with their own brand. So we're doing that. We're doing a lot of that. And I want to take this NIL thing to the young athletes. And because now I know the game now. I've been learning all the legal side. What can you do? What can't you do? I want to help these young athletes create revenue streams like an influencer, Steve. Like, you see these big
Yeah.
influencers or smaller ones, they're creating because they have a following. Well, these young athletes have a following. And so if they're using like products that we make for Culture for Good, let's let them story tell it. Let's teach them how to story tell it. Let's get them involved for free so they don't have to pay money to do that. Let's educate them. So now we're putting together the seminars where I'm going to just go around. We'll do Zooms, of course, and teach these parents and young athletes how to monetize this NIL money, because it's different geographically, it's different by sport, it's, all these different things.
Yeah.
But it is, oh my gosh, is it changing? It's changing everything for young adults for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing what you're doing for them, because a lot of them, not too many people go through this process more than once. Right. So
Yeah.
it's it's a new frontier. They're trying to learn on the go. Parents are doing the best they can, but even somebody
Yeah.
like yourself, like that went through the recruiting process, it's different now than when we went through it.
Ooh.
It's completely different. It's almost a brand new thing that,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you don't understand. Yeah.
It's just very, I'm glad that, the athletes can participate in some revenue. The NIL is like special, it's separate. It's kind of their own thing. The
Uh,
monies that the colleges are paying now is, this year it's kind of evenly distributed, and then they bonus them and take, there's more money on the table. Um, it's super helpful for them to learn about business, learn about, how to monetize things. They're on their devices anyways, and they're
yeah.
creating content,
Yeah.
whether they realize it or not.
Yeah. Exactly.
So let's generate one of the things I've taught forever, and that's multiple streams of income. So not all your eggs are in one basket. Look, we live in a different world, man. Business is different, technology is different, economies, all this stuff. So let's make sure people are set up for success no matter what happens, and they get a great career. Let's say they go to school and then they have this career, or they all have goals. I'm going to play professional sports. Okay, well, maybe, but if not, it's okay, because you learned some things and you generated revenue along the way, and it builds that. That kind of mailbox money, passive income is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah, and at the core, I love how you always bring it back to like you're just helping people, right? It's just a different demographic or a different cohort of a group
Yeah.
of people now that you're helping differently. Talk to a little bit about not to go off topic of the NIL, but it's amazing that you guys have that initiative and you're going around to help people do that. But talk about at the core, culture for good, what it's about, what it's for, and who it's for.
Yeah, it's we kind of goes back to that where we started, which was gut health. It's the gut. We believe in that, the gut takes precedence, digestion takes precedence pretty much over everything else in the human body every time we eat. And that there's two things. You're either going to get all the nutrients from your food you're consuming, and this is what how we teach this. We do a lot with plant-based enzymes to unlock the nutrients you consume, and then to make sure your body eliminates what it doesn't want from that meal. Because, they say you can do, the research will say 80-90% of your immune system lives in the gut, right? Okay, well, better take care of it. The gut brain connection relationship that they
Yeah.
finally admitted. All this stuff, Steve, by the way, is fascinating to us because in the beginning we were just laughed at. They're like, you guys are hippies or weirdos
Hippies.
or
Yeah.
what?
Right.
Whoa, you're whoa, whoa. And my wife Tylene would always say, we're not hippies, we take showers, but it's come so far now. And do we have a lot of brain stuff going on out there? Yes. ADD, ADHD, ABD, CD. It doesn't matter. There's acronyms for all these different things that they're labeling everybody. Um, and that's okay. But let's you're not drug deficient, you're nutrient deficient. Let's help people take their health more into their own hands. There's a time and a place. I'm not saying there isn't, for doctors, and we love our doctors, right?
Right.
And my arm's broken. Hell, I want some help from doc. And give me something for the pain. Do fix that bone, do what you got to do. But it's just not, let's not just rush to meds. Let's see what else the human body can do on itself if given the opportunity. And so we teach that stuff. We try to educate on food. We're pretty much plant-based, whole food based, right? We're not really into the kind of the synthetically spun things. We
Yeah.
try to stick to nature, and I think that's really important for people, whether they're in their 90s or whether they're a pregnant mom or kids. We need to educate. That this is the worst it's ever been by far. I feel like a broken record. I've been saying that for 15, 20 years, that whether it's obesity, whether it's health, whatever it is, we're in a place where we've never been in this country. And so there are things to offset that. And sometimes it's just awareness. Sometimes it's just knowing there's options. It's not about eating perfect. It's not about any of that, but some choices. And when we travel and speak in other countries, it's like the food's different. People hear that. I went to Italy and I ate pasta and gelato and every day and didn't gain. I lost weight. Well, the food's different, and you probably walked all over the place as well, right? And people just don't get enough movement, so it's really just healthy lifestyle, and it's simple. This stuff is so simple. That's the frustrating part. It doesn't need to be complicated, and the challenge for a lot of people when it comes to their health is social media, is TikTok, is Instagram, because everyone now is a guru. Everyone's a guru, and they learned it yesterday, and now they're the expert. And they take one thing, apple cider vinegar is amazing, and so now they're just drinking like gallons of apple cider vinegar every day. No, that's not how this works. And so
Shit.
people just get yeah, they just get extreme. It's like, no, man, let's just have some balance here. But we love it. We've tried not to do it and do other things as an entrepreneur, like building different types of businesses. But that's why I think this NIL thing, where I can help the young generations and educate them on not only as an entrepreneur, but educate them on their health by utilizing Culture for Good products for them as an affiliate, or maybe they're big enough, they want their own brand. That's okay. We'll do that for them, either way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. I love what you guys are doing. I'm a huge fan of the products and you and Ty as well. If you could, what are some words of wisdom for entrepreneurs or somebody on their health journey that you could leave them with, or something that has always stuck with you that to pass along, that wisdom and advice to somebody that wants to achieve success,
Yeah.
either professionally or personally, that you could, that you always, hold close to your heart that you can help.
Yeah. I mean, to me, we're all different, right? And I love education. I love learning and growing, but everyone learns differently. For some, it might be going to school and getting that degree. And for some, it may not be, that's okay too, in my opinion. We go through life and we learn certain things from certain people, certain experiences. So not everyone's cut out for the classroom. It just drives them nuts, and they don't really learn anything anyways. And so they spend a lot of money on an education, and then they spend years and years trying to pay off that education. And for others, it's a must. It's a have, it's a yearning, and it's a sense of accomplishment, and so some people are in school because their parents. There's all these different reasons. I will tell you that in 2025, more big companies are more interested in your skill set of what you bring to the table than your piece of paper. Now, obviously, doctors, lawyers, right? Engineers, there are certain things people need to go get that education, that piece of paper showing this is what I've done. But there's other things that you don't necessarily have to have that. Is it helpful? I think so. Is it expensive? I think so. So it's really kind of a decision there. But as an entrepreneur, to me, is believe in something so much that you're willing to ride the storm, if you will, because obstacles are going to come. Timing's not going to be yours. There's so many contributing factors. Where a path you go down, you think, this is my path. I have this idea. I have this thing, and I'm going to go this way. Next thing you know, you're way over here. Same thing, but it's like, how did I get here? But it's amazing. You don't know. So you have to be open, right? You have to take the first step. You can't just keep thinking about it. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it all perfect. No, man, dive in, freaking learn as you go. Don't be a knucklehead, right? Have enough information, know what you're trying to accomplish, know what market, who you competing with, if anyone. I like finding things where I'm hardly competing with anybody. That's what's really fun to me. I would rather create something that doesn't really exist or very little, or something I see, man, this is going to be really big down the road. How do I get in front of that? And so I think for entrepreneurs, like you said earlier, Steve, there's not a perfect time. If you're going to do it, get your stuff together. What is it that you're going to accomplish or set out to accomplish? What's your intention with it? And go. And don't think too small. I think I've had to learn in my life sometimes, don't think too small, and don't worry about all the details. Don't worry about all the details, because if you believe in what you have and it can help people, or it's going to fill a need, it's okay. You don't need to know every step of the way of how you're going to get there. You're going to get there, right? And then if for some reason the market changes or something changes or technology changes something, and you have to tap out, you have to tap out. Depending on how much time and money and where do you see it going from there. You just always be learning. So you're going through these experiences, you're learning, but you're not listening to everyone. Do not listen to everyone unless they're an expert about what you're trying to do, because people are going to try to detour you, tell you you're nuts. All my successes, people tried to tell me I was a knucklehead. Like, what are you thinking? So don't get caught up into that. You know your story. You write your story. They don't write your story. You live your life. They don't live your life. It really comes back to you and your belief. And as far as health, by the way, man, health is way simpler than people make it out to be. It starts with food, starts with getting some sleep, starts with being hydrated. It starts with taking a walk. Like, these are not super difficult things. Yes, depending on where you live, I'm not going through the snow or, where you guys out. It's different for everybody, obviously, but common sense is such a big deal. And be mindful of information that people are pitching, because there's a lot of pitching going on. I mean, TikTok is a big pitch. And so you just have to do your homework a little bit. I believe people need supplements. I believe I take way too many supplements, but they're food and plants. So it's like food to me.
Yeah.
And I won't eat a meal that's cooked if I don't have my digestive enzyme. And so why would I? Right? I know what happens. It's so preventative. We can be so preventative. That's what drives me nutty. And of course, things do come up and happen, and there's ways to try to reverse those things and put things back together where they go. So
It's awesome. Sean, I love talking to you. You always bring something brand new to me and make me go, oh, make me question myself or
Yeah.
always. Every time we talk, I love it. I love it. Sean, where can people learn more about you and Ty and also Culture for Good and everything you guys have going on?
Yeah, I mean, we have cultureforgood.com, which is, there'll be a brand new site that'll be up. I would say less than 10 days, there'll be a brand new site up. There'll be, the brand is changing. We're just trying to, well, we have all these different things from over the years, and our products don't all look like they play for the same team. So we're cleaning that up. We're fixing that just so there's a simple little brand that kind of goes together. But it's really, we want to educate more. We'll be doing, we love to educate. We love to do little Zooms or create little videos to help people out. You can always reach us at info@cultureforgood.com. We want to help, and we're not going to diagnose. We're not doctors, even though, we've trained thousands of doctors, whatever. It's not about that. It's if people are scared, people have questions, people are hurting. And so, w- you know, not a good business model. We're not charging people a bunch of money. We don't even do that. Most of the time we try to help and point you in the right direction. Um, because people, it's interesting right now. And so we want to help people with their health. But yeah, cultureforgood.com. And if there's anything we can do for you, it's not all about us. It's not all about our product. There's other things. I mean, we'll recommend other companies. We can do, depending on what's going on with you or your loved ones, just let us know.
Awesome. Awesome. If you need help or if you have any questions for Sean and his wife, Ty, they're amazing people. I trust them literally with my life, as does my wife. So reach out, full support from myself and Success Stories. So Sean, thanks so much for being on. I really appreciate you sharing some of your insight and giving a spotlight onto your journey that people can learn from. Which is
Yeah,
basically your lifelong journey is just educating and teaching people, which I love it.
it's wacky, it's wacky, but I appreciate just the time you've allowed me to share, and I learned from you too, Steve. And so I believe in you and love you as a human being, man. And that's what it's all about. And, however, I think what you're doing is fantastic. And I think it'll have a rippling effect on those that will never even know about, but just know what you're doing is a super cool thing, man.
Appreciate it, Sean. Stick around, more content to come. Find Sean and Ty on all the social platforms, cultureforgood.com. Look forward to talk soon. Thanks, everybody.